You're listening to the Telltale channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. All links are in the description. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. As you can see, I have Richard Dawkins on my screen. I wanted to listen to one of his debates that he had. He had this debate a while back with Cardinal George Pell. He's a member of the Catholic Church. I think he's a cardinal over all of Australia at the time, anyways. Something like that. He's very, very high up. And in addition to that, Cardinal Pell was caught up in one of those child mistreatment scandals, with the Catholic Church. Not fantastic. That was long after this debate took place. This debate happened 9 years ago, actually, 2014. It's really fascinating to go back and watch, though I do have to put in obligatory. Not really a fan of Richard Dawkins. I feel like he's not great on trans issues, LGBT issues generally. I'm just not a fan of him at all, honestly. But like I said, it's valuable to go back and listen to kind of what the talking points were back then and things like that. So without further ado, let's give this debate a listen, see what he had to say. And while we do, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild. Just going to be in the corner over here. Shouldn't bother you too much. Also, I'd like to get your opinion on something. This is only for the live stream while this is happening live. Go ahead and vote in this poll that I'm pinning in the comments section here and let me know, should I stream with my green screen or without my green screen? I'm super curious to know what you guys think. Should I have the big blue, like, chalkboard type of background, or should I just have it open like I have now? Kind of a fan of not having the green screen. I don't know. It's just something really interesting about having the extra background. Nemo 2, welcome. Hello, Owen. Hello, beautiful chat. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Alpha40 says hello to the chat also. All right, let's give this a listen. Step back here. I think it starts right here. Hold on.
Tonight comes from Naomi Roseth.
At Easter, Australia's religious leaders invoke the name of God in order to preach peace, tolerance, political integrity, social and moral fortitude. All obviously positive and worthwhile values.
Okay.
My question is...
Okay, so hang on. Wait.
In what way is the practice...
Okay, I think my keyboard isn't working. That's weird. Okay, it is working. Hang on.
...of this value...
Okay, there we go. So what she's saying is the church preaches moral values that you get from the Bible, basically, right? Okay.
My question is, in what way is the practice of these values dependent on an existing God? Is it possible for an atheist to be a peace-loving, socially responsible person?
Richard Dawkins, let's start with you.
Well, obviously the answer to that question is yes. I mean, that could hardly be otherwise. It is true that Christianity has adopted many of the best values of humanity, but they don't belong to Christianity or indeed to any other religion.
The interesting thing about moral values provided by the Bible, in my opinion, is... Oh, most people are saying no green screen. 20 votes against the green screen and 5 votes for the green screen so far. Very interesting. Okay. Anyways, the interesting thing about the Bible is that it espouses a moral position on every moral issue just about. I've shown this before, but there's this Bible contradictions type of deal here. If you look at this, it's a website. You can kind of go through and just click like any of these lines, and it'll show you the contradictions in the Bible. Some of them have like a whole bunch of contradictions, right? Like, what's this? How many gods are there? There's only one God. It's supported by Deuteronomy 4:35-39, Deuteronomy 6:4, Deuteronomy 32:39, 1 Kings, Isaiah, Mark, John, 1 Corinthians. And then there are several gods is supported by Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 1 Chronicles, Psalms. So anyway, the point is there is a Bible verse to back up pretty much anything you want. And really, what you're doing when you supposedly take your morals from the Bible is taking the morals that you view to be the most valuable to society and finding verses to justify them. That's really what's happening. So, anyways, yes, obviously people can be moral without the Bible. Otherwise, you'd have to say that China, Japan, and nearly every other country out there, almost every other country, except for maybe like 10 or something, are immoral by default. Anything that they do is immoral.
I think it would be very sad if it were true that you really did need religion in order to be good. Because if you think about it, what that would mean would be either that you get your morals and your values from the Bible or the Quran or some other holy book, or that you are good only because you're frightened of God, because you don't want to go to hell or you do want to go to heaven.
Wow, that was a close-up of that woman's face. Holy Christ on a cracker. Why did they get so close to someone's face, and how did they manage that without spooking her?
Because you're frightened of God, because you don't want to go to hell.
Look at this close-up. What is happening? How did they manage this?
Or you do want to go to heaven. Now, as for getting your morals from the Bible, I very sincerely hope nobody does get their morals from the Bible. It's true that you can find the occasional good verse, and the Sermon on the Mount would be one example, but it's lost amid the awful things that are dotted throughout the Old Testament, and actually throughout the New Testament as well, because the idea, the fundamental idea of New Testament Christianity, which is that Jesus is the Son of God who is redeeming humanity from original sin, the idea that we are born in sin, and the only way we can be redeemed from sin is through the death of Jesus. I mean, that's a horrible idea.
Yeah, it kind of bothers me, that idea. The idea that you are sick and commanded to be well, and there's no real cure for it. You cannot fix this problem. Someone else has to fix it for you, basically. This is fundamentally one of my big problems with Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous as well. You shouldn't be viewing things like you are always perpetually sick for the rest of your life. You should view your addiction as something that you can overcome. Wow, I am so bad at aiming with arrows right now. It's ridiculous. There we go. Anyways, I don't like it. I don't like the premise of NA and AA, and it perfectly mirrors the Christian philosophy. By the by, if you guys did want the green screen, it is down here in the corner. I could just pop this puppy up. Here, check this out. Oh, wait. Hang on. I think I have to... Yeah, I think I forgot to activate the actual green screen effect. Hang on. Let's see. There we are. Green screen activated. Now I'm purple. Because because my camera doesn't know what to do with that color. Anyways, there's the green screen effect if we want it, but we're just going to switch away from it and not use it for now. Let my system kind of readjust so that I'm not purple anymore. Okay, let's continue.
It's a horrible idea that God, this paragon of wisdom and knowledge, power, couldn't think of a better way to forgive us our sins than to come down to earth in his alter ego as his son and have himself hideously tortured and executed so that he could forgive himself.
Okay.
It is a really bizarre belief system. It's one to which Jehovah's Witnesses do not subscribe. They don't believe in all of this stuff. The Trinity specifically. Though they do believe Jesus came to earth to die for your sins and all that other good junk. I don't know. It's really weird after coming out of a belief system that does not ascribe to the Trinity and then hearing Trinitarian beliefs. It's just very bizarre. But Trinitarian beliefs are really, really, really common within Christian circles. So, anyway.
Okay, let's go to George Pell on that.
Well, there's quite a few things that might be said. First of all, our tradition goes back about 4,000 years. So whatever these values are that we've taken over, we've got to go back a little bit of a distance. And it's interesting to look at pagan Rome before there was Christian influence. 40% were slaves. Men and women fought one another to the death.
Okay. That's not because Christianity has any kind of rules about not enslaving people or whatever. Like, it's complete nonsense. Is he, like, making it out like Christianity ended slavery? What? Are you kidding me?
In the Circus Maximus or the Colosseum, women had no rights whatsoever.
Oh, and Christianity came around and fixed all that, right? Women have rights now because of Christianity, okay?
Infanticide was practiced regularly. The noble families didn't want baby girls. Christianity changed that, not perhaps by...
No, it didn't. It didn't change any of that stuff. What the hell is this dude talking about right now? This is bizarre.
But largely.
It's like he lives in this bizarre bubble that is completely detached from, like, the rest of the world, from everything else. It's so strange to hear somebody just make stuff up like this and pretend that Christianity, like, fixed all these problems. Like, what?
And the Christian story, we're Christians, we're New Testament people. There was an evolution in the Old Testament, and there are some awful things there. It developed. The notion of God was purified as it went through the Old Testament.
Oh, I love it. This dude is basically, right now, he's saying, yeah, the Old Testament is really brutal. We don't follow the Old Testament. We don't listen to it. So how does he feel about gay people, I wonder? Do you have a problem with people being gay? Because that's the basis. The verses found in the Old Testament are the basis for Christian problems with people who are gay. The vast majority of anti-gay support in the Bible comes from the Old Testament. Almost all of it.
Can I just interrupt you just to bring you to the point of the question, which was really about whether atheists can lead a good life and be good people and socially responsible and so on?
Yeah, absolutely.
You accept that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helps to believe in God.
It helps, huh?
Because there's a Polish poet, Milosz, who says that the opium of the people today is the belief that they won't be judged by God when they die. That those who've committed great crimes, done awful...
Okay, wait. What's the quote? I thought the quote was, religion is the opiate of the masses. Is that not the quote? I don't remember. I mean, people have probably, like, twisted the quote around and used it for their own interests and purposes. Yeah, that's a Karl Marx quote. Religion is the opiate of the masses. What? Is this dude quoting Karl Marx and twisting it around to his own ends right now?
Things are going to get away with it, and that the people who've suffered unjustly, had terrible lives, that's it.
Okay, let's move quickly to our second question. It's from
Dude, I don't even know what this guy's talking about. This is just bizarre.
Claire Bonner.
Religion is precisely often blamed for being the root of war and conflict. But what about all the good it has done for our society? God-centered religion has been the birthplace of schools, universities, hospitals, and countless developments in science as well. Richard, if you believe the human drive to seek the truth and to constantly improve ourselves is merely a mechanism for survival, then what's the point and why should I bother?
It's an astonishing idea to say, why should you bother just because we have a scientific understanding of why we're here. We do have a scientific understanding of why we're here, and we therefore have to make up our own meaning to life. We have to find our own purposes in life, which are not derived directly from our scientific history. When you say that Christianity has been responsible for a lot of good, including science, by the way, which is somewhat ironic.
It is super ironic. Christianity, largely, throughout history, has opposed science at every turn. And even today, I mean, there are a lot of Christians who don't oppose science out there today. But the loudest ones, the ones that seem to control the levers of government, I mean, the Christians in power in this country do oppose scientific progress. It's kind of how it's always worked.
I think that most of the great benefits in humanity, such as the abolition of slavery, such as the emancipation of women, which the cardinal both mentioned both of, these have been wrung out of our Christian history without much support from Christianity.
Without much support from, that's a kind way of saying Christianity has fought progress at every turn. I mean, every time there's some civil rights battle, you know, we are trying to get women's rights, we're trying to get gay rights, we're trying to get anything, any kind of rights for anybody. There's the church standing in the way every single time. It's always been that way. Oh my God, did I just die? I just died. Wow, he really nailed me in the back there.
I, as an atheist, my friends as atheists, lead thoroughly worthwhile lives, in our opinion, because we stand up, look the world in the face up to the fact that we are not going to last forever. We have to make the most of the short time that we have on this planet. We have to make this planet as good as we possibly can and try to leave it a better place than we found it.
Now, to some degree, you've already answered this, but there is a follow-up question. I'm going to go to that now. It's from Rebecca Ray.
Okay, my question for you today is, without religion, where is the basis of our values? And in time, will we perhaps revert back to Darwin's idea of...
Okay, this is nearly the same question as the first, questioner. Where is the basis of our values? Basically, where are our morals coming from? The answer is your morals came from wherever you grew up and whoever taught you those morals when you were little, basically. Society formed out your morals, and you found justifications for those morals that you have in the holy texts that you love so much. That's where it came from.
survival of the fittest?
Richard Dawkins, you can answer that and I'll bring in Cardinal Pell.
I very much hope that we don't revert to the idea of survival of the fittest in planning our politics and our values and our way of life. I've often said that I'm a passionate Darwinian when it comes to explaining why we exist. It's undoubtedly the reason why we're here and why all living things are here. But to live our lives in a Darwinian way, to make a society a Darwinian society, that would be a very unpleasant sort of society in which to live. It would be a sort of Thatcherite.
Dude, I'm getting just mauled over here. Usually I don't even come down this way. Plus it's nighttime. That's probably why. I'm just getting surrounded by enemy after enemy.
Society.
He's talking Thatcherite. He's probably referring to Margaret Thatcher. I think she's in is she the British Prime Minister when what's his name, Reagan, was in power in the U.S. and there was like a conservative groundswell where everybody in the Western world suddenly became really, really conservative. It was weird at the time. But anyway, yeah, responsible for endless suffering, honestly. Margaret Thatcher was terrible.
And we want to, I mean, in a way, I feel that one of the reasons for learning about Darwinian evolution is as an object lesson in how not to set up our values and our social lives.
George Pell.
Well, it's interesting because I think in the space of about 2 minutes, Richard has said two different things.
So evolution is real. We have risen above our base interests, and we've become more than the sum of our parts by rising above Darwinism, or if you will. And besides that, Darwinism is only used to describe how we got to where we are. It's not supposed to be applied to a moral system. Never was. But Christian extremists who oppose evolution, even though it's just a fact of the world, will try to apply it to social orders because they think that, you know, they can win some argument that way. Do the same thing with communism, you know, social communism, social Marxism, equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. It's all just people trying to apply things to society that don't, like, apply correctly to society. Because it will get them some kind of a win.
One of which is that science can't tell us why we're here, and then in the next minute trying to say that it does.
No,
Dude, why? Why? You know what? I'm skipping these guys. I just don't have enough hearts for this.
And then in the next minute...
All right, let me step back. Listen to George Pell again. Dude, this guy's terrible.
Richard has said two different things. One of which is that science can't tell us why we're here, and then in the next minute trying to say that it does.
No, I said it can tell us why we're here.
It can't.
Well, I simply contradict you in that case.
Well,
that's like one of my favorite lines ever. I simply disagree, good sir.
What is the reason that science gives why we're here? Science tells us how things happen. Science tells us nothing about why there was the Big Bang, why there is a transition from inanimate matter to living matter. Science is silent on... we could solve most of the questions in science and it would leave all the problems of life almost completely untouched. Why be good?
Wait, all of the problems of life completely untouched? Like, what problems of life are we talking about here exactly?
There are... why be good is a separate question, which I also came to. Why we exist, you're playing with the word why there. Science is working on the problem of the antecedent factors that lead to our existence. Now, why in any further sense than that, why in the sense of purpose, is, in my opinion, not a meaningful question. You cannot ask a question like, why do mountains exist, as though mountains had some kind of purpose. What you can say is what are the causal factors that lead to the existence of mountains, and the same with life and the same with the universe.
Yeah, this kind of bothers a lot of people, this idea that there may not be a why answer here. And this is pretty much this is the corner that religion has on the market, basically. The only value, in my opinion, that religion adds to anything at all is giving you an answer to why you're here, like philosophically, like what reason do I have to be here specifically? And it's, you know, it's a fake reason anyways. Like look at Islam or Buddhism. Buddhism and Islam give people fake reasons for being here, for living. You know, Muhammad arbitrarily assigned explanations for life and all that stuff when the Quran was written. It didn't actually answer any of those questions. So religion doesn't really provide an answer any better than science does for why we are here, why we should be here, or what we're here to do, or whatever. We're just here. Enjoy the ride while you are.
Now, science over the centuries has gradually pieced together answers to those questions. Why in that sense? It's true that there are still some gaps, but surely, Cardinal, you're not going to fall for the God of the gaps trap of saying that, that religion is going to fill in those gaps which science has so far not yet answered.
No, I'm not going to be diverted at all. I'm happy to come back to that.
Okay.
What does that mean? I'm not going to be diverted? I'll come back. He'll come back to what? What is he talking about? Richard Dawkins is making an interesting point here. That a lot of religion or a lot of religious people have a tendency to assume things are caused by God when we don't have a scientific answer for it. But science will come along and fill that in eventually, almost certainly, right? It's like with trans issues, which, by the way, Richard Dawkins is very bad on. I just want to make note of that one more time. Not a fan of his position on trans issues. But think about this, okay? An argument you hear a lot from far-right religious nutcases is men are men and women are women, and that's just what it is. You can't change that. Cat is digging into something. You cannot change that. That's... Hey, quit it! Oh my God. He is such a shithead. He's doing this on purpose. That fucking... I'm sorry. I'm swearing so much. I want to strangle him. Back! No! He knows... Like, there's a scratching board right next to him. And instead, he's digging into the carpet. Why? And then the second I stand up, he, like, bolts because he knows it's wrong. He knows he's just being a shithead for no reason. Anyways, I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought there. Let me try to get back to what I was saying. Religious people, religious extremists specifically have a tendency to say men are men, women are women. And that's just what it is, right? You can't change your sex. But the thing is, science will eventually come to the point, almost certainly, where we can do that. So will their minds change when we get to that point? Ultimately, anti-trans, right-wing extremists are just grasping at anything they can find to attack and hate trans people. There is no logic involved. They're trying to post hoc, after the fact, apply some kind of rough logic to try to convince people in the middle. When in reality, it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. He's such a shithead, man. I need to get one of those spray bottles. You used to have spray bottles. I would hope that would stop him. I don't know. It's Kashmir. He is such an ass. I don't know why he's like this. I'm just checking here. Hang on. God, I've sworn so much because of this stupid cat. Let's see. Just looking through the chat. Sorry, guys. Next time, next cat I get is going to be a Maine Coon. It's not going to be a Siamese cat. Take that, Kashmir, you bastard. He wants attention? Well, he's sitting in my lap a few minutes ago and he jumped out. He's more than welcome to get up here and sit in my lap if he wants. No, I don't think it's attention. I think he just likes being a shithead. That's it. Anyway, all right. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry for that deviation. I'm just so infuriated by this cat sometimes. Miki doesn't do this stuff, you know? Miki, like a good kitty, scratches her little scratching board every day. Owen, cats do that. Kind of try the boundaries. Oh, they do. I know. Yeah. Miki doesn't, though. Miki doesn't do that with the boundary thing. But Kashmir has always, always, always done that. Like, tried to push limits and, you know, scratch things he was not supposed to scratch and all that stuff. He is just so frustrating sometimes. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just going off on a rant about my cat. He's very, very annoying sometimes. All right, let's keep listening to, you know, this debate here.
We will be coming back to it because I know there are questions that relate to some of the bigger issues you're talking about, but you can respond and then we'll move on to our next one.
I hope I'll be allowed to.
You certainly
will.
He's such a D-bag, seriously. Pell. And again, he was caught up in this, you know, child mistreatment scandal. He's one of the alleged perpetrators, from my understanding. And I think he was even removed from a power or from a position of authority at one point because of his role in this, you know, child mistreatment situation. Trying to say this in a really polite way. Of course, all this came out after this video release. But anyway, yeah, he's just awful. This guy is just awful.
It's part of being human to ask why we exist. Questioning distinguishes us from the animals.
No, our ability to talk and to create language and writing systems and stuff distinguishes us from the animals. Oh my God, dude. Okay, I just need to not face off with bokoblins right now. I am too weak for this. I don't have enough hearts. I get killed with a single hit. It's crazy. All right, I'm just gonna skip it. Continue on until I get some hearts.
It's to ask why we're here. So I repeat, and this is a commonplace in science. Science has nothing to say about that. As whatever it might say about mountains, it can't say what is the purpose of human life. And it's not Maggie Thatcher who was...
It's Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher is her name. Why did he call her Maggie? Does he even know who it is? Like, who we're talking about here?
In the epitome...
Look, I just found myself back at the bokoblin nest. Why? Because I'm an idiot, that's why.
The personification of social Darwinism, it's Hitler and Stalin. Because it's the struggle of for survival. The strong take what they can and the weak give what they must, and there's nothing to restrain them. And we've seen that in the two great atheist movements of the last century.
No, that's ridiculous.
Atheist movement? Hitler and... Okay, Stalin, I guess, was nationally atheist, right? That's fair enough. Hitler? Atheist? Are we talking about the same guy? In no way, shape, or form was Hitler the champion of atheism at all. He used religion to his benefit. That's not to say that he used the Catholic Church. He tried to, and they went along with it for a short time. But eventually the Catholic Church had it out with Hitler, and there was a power struggle, and finally the Catholic Church came out against Hitler and his whole regime. Hitler was not an atheist. Their belt buckles said, "God is with us." I mean, Nazi belt buckles did in German. Just absurd to say something like this.
That is ridiculous.
Who is clapping for this? These people have no idea what they're talking about.
Nice unbiased audience you've assembled here, by the way. Right, let's clearly distinguish two things here.
The problem is that it's really hard to assemble an unbiased audience when you're dealing with, like, religious debates. You just, there are so many, or there are so few, atheist or non-religious people in the U.S. or in Britain or Australia that it's, like, impossible to, assemble an unbiased audience on this subject. Gott mit uns, if I remember. Yep, that's exactly right. That's what the belt buckle said. Just checking through here. Not an idiot for doing the same thing. Insane, maybe. Okay, I appreciate that. I just keep going back in. Why?
First, atheism had nothing to do with Hitler or Stalin. Stalin...
Yeah, I have to say, Stalin was opposed to religion on paper, but it was almost like the state was the religion in a lot of ways. As a matter of fact, I think there was a state religion in the Soviet Union, wasn't there? I don't remember.
Stalin was an atheist, Hitler was not. It doesn't matter what they were with respect to atheism. They did their horrible things for entirely different reasons. Now, you are right when you say that aspects of what Hitler tried to do could be regarded as arising out of Darwinian natural selection. That's exactly why I said that I despise Darwinian natural selection as a motto for how we should live.
Right. It does not apply to social order. It shouldn't apply to society. Darwinism shouldn't apply to society. Again, it's just the same classic BS trick that people try to pull all the time. Pick out an ideology that's widely despised by most of the population. Socialism, communism, Darwinism, whatever. And apply it to something to which it does not apply. Society. It's an economic system doesn't apply to society that way.
I tried to say we should not live by Darwinian principles, but Darwinian principles explain how we got here and why we exist in the scientific sense. Now, Cardinal, you said it's part of human nature to want to ask the question why, in the sense of purpose. It may very well be part of human nature, but that doesn't make it a valid question. There are all sorts of questions which you can ask. What's funny about that?
Okay, hang on. Let me step back. Listen again. See, this is another thing that kind of gets under my skin about Dawkins. He's kind of an asshole. Outside of the fact that he's really, really bad on trans issues, just like embarrassingly bad. Some of the things that he said are terrible. Aside from that fact, he seems like a complete douchebag. I don't know. I've never met him. Some of my colleagues on YouTube have met him and had him on their channels. I never have.
May very well be part of human nature, but that doesn't make it a valid question. There are all sorts of questions which you can ask. What's funny about that?
They were obviously just a group of kids making jokes and laughing about something stupid.
What is funny about that?
Okay, we'd like the audience not to yell out. If we can do that, that'd be great. We're going to move on.
I didn't finish, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, finish your point.
Okay.
Because there are lots of questions pertaining to this. We will
The question why is not necessarily a question that deserves to be answered. There are all sorts of questions that people can ask, like, what is the colour of jealousy? That's a silly question.
Exactly.
Why is a silly...
Exactly, he said. Exactly. That's a silly question. What? This guy has no idea what's happening, does he? He is completely clueless. Cardinal Pell?
Question. Why is a silly question. You can ask, what are the factors that led to something coming into existence? That's a sensible question. But what is the purpose of the universe is a silly question. It has no meaning.
Could I just interpose very briefly?
Very briefly.
I think it's a very poignant and real question to ask, why is there suffering?
Oh, absolutely. And guess what your religion doesn't answer? Guess what Catholicism and extremist Christianity, evangelicalism, guess what question those things don't answer? Why is there suffering when God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-wise? Why is it there? Why is this happening? Why is he even bringing this up right now? This is like a point against him. Like when Richard Dawkins is just pointing out ridiculous questions, he says, exactly. He's completely clueless. I'm convinced. There's no kid around, so he's not really paying too much attention to what's happening, I guess.
We will be asking that question, believe it or not.
We should have like a 10-year-old asking posing the questions to Pell, and then maybe he'd be a little more focused on what's happening.
Here's Q&A. It's live and interactive. Tonight we're experimenting with Qanda Vote, a new way for Q&A viewers to share their opinions on the issues we discuss. You can go to the qandavote.tv website on your smartphone, tablet or computer to vote in our very first question, and that is, does religious belief make the world a better place? Does religious belief make the world a better place? We'll report back later on your views. First, let's move on to our next question for our panel. It comes from Paul Hanrahan.
My question is for Richard Dawkins.
So I guess the question was, does religion make the world a better place overall? I mean, I guess if we take, like, in totality, net, I would say no. It makes, I mean, religion, I'm talking Islam, Buddhism, all of it. Christianity included, everything. In totality, I would say no, it doesn't. That would be my guess. And I would be willing to bet literally every single person on planet Earth would agree with me on that point. You know why? Because they are only one religion out of the many, many, many religions around. And even religious people, like super ultra religious people, view other religions as deeply damaging to society. So I would bet anything that I could get an agreement on that point from almost everybody. Religion in totality, Islam has a negative effect overall. Buddhism has a negative effect overall, total.
You're on the record as saying you can't prove that God doesn't exist, and you say you're agnostic rather than atheistic. Why do you appear as the champion of atheism around the world? Why do you accept offers to appear as the champion of atheism? And why are you so evangelical in the prosecution of your cause? Isn't that a touch hypocritical and unscientific?
Fascinating. Okay, let's see what Dawkins says.
Yes, Richard Dawkins, I'm a bit confused about this because you just referred to yourself moments ago as being an atheist, and yet with the Archbishop of Canterbury you referred to yourself as an agnostic.
In the God delusion, I made a 7-point scale. 1 is I'm totally confident there is a God. 7 is I'm totally confident there is not a God. 6 is, to all intents and purposes, I'm an atheist. I live my life as though there is no God. But any scientist of any sense will not say that they positively can disprove the existence of anything. I cannot disprove the existence of the Easter Bunny. And so I'm agnostic about the Easter Bunny. It's in the same respect that I'm agnostic about God. So
what proof, by the way, would change your mind?
Literally any, for me. I would take anything. Any hard... Look, here's the thing. I can, in fact, prove beyond reasonable doubt that the God of evangelical extremists does not exist. I can prove without a doubt that this hateful, vengeful nutcase who wants to destroy and kill and blah, 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 is, at the very least, an inaccurate depiction of God. This God who helps people find his car keys is an inaccurate depiction, at the very least. Now, I can't prove and don't even want to try to prove that there is no God at all, but the vast majority of Christianity, the God that they worship, evangelicals, even far-right Catholicism, whatever, that God does not exist. I'm very, very confident in that.
A very difficult and interesting question because, I used to think that if somehow, great big, giant, 900-foot-high Jesus with a voice like Paul Robeson suddenly strode in and said, I exist, here I am. But even that, I actually sometimes wonder whether that would...
I think you're hallucinating.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, this guy is doing himself no favors. Honestly, is he listening right now? Is he paying attention to what's being said? This guy is like a joke. Why is he even here? He should not be doing debates if he cannot represent his side well at all. And yeah, that's the point, Cardinal. That you'll never know for sure if this is like a hallucination or if there's a parlor trick or something, right? You know what would prove it for me? I'll tell you what would prove it for me, or damn near. I would be very confident if God spoke to everybody on planet Earth at the same time in our heads and gave us all the exact same message and told us which denomination of Christianity was the correct denomination. If everybody on Earth could relay the exact same verbatim, the exact same message that I heard in my head, then I think I could buy it. That's what would convince me.
Exactly. I agree. I agree.
Can I ask you? Well, can I just put a question to you? Could you ever provide Richard Dawkins with the sort of proof he requires for belief, scientific proof of the existence of God?
No, because I think he only accepts proof that is rooted in sense experience. In other words...
I mean, I wouldn't just... I mean, I'm not sure what he's talking about. Is he saying, like, he wouldn't accept mathematical proof? I guess I'd accept mathematical proof or whatever. I mean, I would accept all kinds of different proof. But the problem is that we have no proof. It's certainly not for the God that George Pell worships here. The crazy, angry, vengeful God that he believes in. That denies evolution and denies the LGBT community their humanity and wants to control everything related to the government from the ground up. It's just ridiculous to think that God exists.
He excludes the world of metaphysics, say the principle of contradiction, and he excludes the possibility of arguments that don't go against reason, but go beyond it. But could I make one little suggestion as to why Richard calls himself an atheist? Because in one of his blogs in 2002, he was discussing whether he's an agnostic or a non-theist. He said he prefers to use the term atheist because it's more explosive, it's more dynamic. You can shake people up.
Okay, I don't know if that's true or what, but sure, I mean, I guess saying atheist gets straight to the point. You're not, like, beating around the bush or trying to cautiously walk into a situation. You're just telling people, I don't believe in this. I did the same thing for a long time, but now I walk a little bit more lightly because, for one thing, I don't really want to isolate Christians from my audience because my real target is extremism, not Christianity. And for another thing, who fucking knows? Maybe, somebody out there created everything. I don't think so. I'm 99.9% sure that didn't happen, but you know what? I mean, there's that 0.01%, I suppose. Anyways, I might as well not isolate people and turn them away from the things that I have to say and fighting with me against extremism when there's really no point in doing that, So that's my position.
If you're just going around saying that you're an agnostic or a non-theist, it's not... these are his own words.
Well, let's let Richard do it.
I mean, he can still go around and say whatever he wants. Oh, there's the other kitty. Okay, hello, kitty. He can say whatever he wants. Like, he could still go around, write his books, and do tours and debates and stuff, and call himself a non-theist. Like, I don't understand why using the word atheist is like a necessary part of the equation here.
I don't remember saying that. It wouldn't totally surprise me. It's in 2002. It's an ongoing issue. What's the best way? There is a
Pell loves doing this. This is one of his favorite things. You'll see later. He quotes stuff that's completely made up. He comes up with fake like page numbers and paragraph numbers and everything. He just fabricates it right out of the ether.
Problem with the word atheist, especially in America. I don't know whether it's true in Australia. There's a lovely woman, I'm blocking on her name because I'm jet-lagged. She's
Julia Sweeney.
Irish-American woman. Anybody help me?
There are quite a few Irish-American women.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Sorry? No.
I know it's Julia Sweeney, I think that's her name, because she shows up to FFRF conventions and American Atheist conventions and stuff.
Anyway, I do
pretty frequently, and she is very famous. She is an actress, I believe, who is very famously atheist also.
apologize personally to her for forgetting her name. She's an actress, and she's got a she did a film on how she escaped from the Roman Catholic Church, and it's a very moving film. And at the end, her mother discovered that she was an atheist, and her mother phoned her up and said, "Well, I don't mind you not believing in God, but an atheist?" Her name's Julia Sweeney, so it's suddenly come back to me. I strongly recommend that. Now, the point is that the word atheist, unlike just simply not believing in God, has bad connotations. And so, to some extent, people have wished to depart from that and change the name to non-theist or secularist or non-believer. And I waver back and forth as to what's the best name to use. I sometimes call myself an atheist, sometimes a non-theist, and sometimes just a non-believer.
George Pell.
Yeah, I just go with, like, non-believer generally. I used to go with hard atheist, but, you know, really I'm about as hard atheist as it gets. But I don't care about that. I don't want to focus in on that. I used to want to focus in on it heavily. It's just, I feel like I'm up against, I'm fighting a losing battle right now against, like, the far right in the U.S. and evangelical extremists and cults in general. And if I don't get the help of others, kind of, you know, recruit others in the cause against extremism, I'm crippling myself. There's no reason to do that. So I'd rather just, you know, not be inflammatory and make people feel uncomfortable or bad or unhappy or feel like they're being attacked. I would rather just work with everybody and bring people together, you know.
Well, can I just come back to you on this question of the existence of God? Why would God randomly decide to provide proof of his existence to a small group of Jews 2,000 years ago and not subsequently provide any proof after that?
Right, thank you.
Well, I don't think there's ever been any scientific proof.
What? Then he doesn't accept all the miracles that took place in the Bible? Of course there's been scientific proof if, you know, the Old Testament and honestly the New Testament are to be believed. Okay, most people, and I'm assuming he falls into this category, most Catholics and also most, like, Baptists and Methodists, I would say, and Lutherans, are cessationists. They believe that all of these miracles did take place and were, you know, happening this entire time, except that all of those gifts, quote-unquote, ceased when Jesus died and his apostles died off as well. Anybody who was born after Jesus died basically didn't have those gifts. That's generally the position of most churches. If it's not, then they believe that they can still, like, heal the sick and the lame and the blind and the whatever, you know. So I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about. Like, he didn't come in prepared for this at all.
Jews 2,000 years ago and not subsequently provide any proof after that.
Well, I don't think there's ever been any scientific proof. I don't believe God does anything randomly, although he might set up a system which works apparently through you know, through chance, through random. But if you want to get some,
why would God set up a system that apparently works through chance, that appears as though it's just pure chance? Why would he set up a system like that? Why wouldn't God just do something really incredible and, like, show us without a doubt. You know, it's just like I was saying earlier. Why doesn't God, transmit information into our minds instantly, right now? Everybody's head in the entire world. Why doesn't he do that? That would convince everybody. Now, there's no more messing around with all this nonsense like, oh, we don't know who's right. We don't know if it's like Buddhists or Christians or which denomination of Christianity. We don't have to mess with any of that. This cat is so in the way. It is ridiculous. Kitty, you must get down. I need you to get down, Kitty. I don't know where I'm going. I think I'm going the right way. Kitty, don't rub against my microphone. Don't do that. All right, time to get down. Oh, she's sliding on my chair. Okay. All right. Kitty has left.
If you want something done, you've got to ask somebody. It's no good, say, my asking everyone in the congregation, will you do something? Normally you go to a busy person because you know they'll do it. And so for some extraordinary reason...
wow, he's... okay, I'm not even going to bother.
God chose the Jews. They weren't intellectually the equal of either the Egyptians or the...
I'm sorry?
Intellectually?
Intellectually, morally...
Wait, what's this? The Jews... God picked the Jews, though they weren't intellectually or morally the equals of Egyptians or whoever else. What? What is he saying right now? This dude should be barred from taking part in any debates, really. He is just digging himself a hole, and he's digging a hole for the entire Catholic Church right now.
How can you know intellectually?
Because you see the fruits of their civilization.
No, that humans are so close evolutionarily that we're basically all the same. There are not different races of humans. There is one race, the human race. I have no idea what this dude is talking about. Okay, sorry, I had to be silent for a second. That's really hard to do. Intellectually, they were the equals of everybody. The Jews of the time. Everybody is of equal intelligence in the world, pretty much. It within a set number of parameters, and those parameters are not changed based on anybody's ethnicity.
Egypt was the great power for thousands of years before Christianity. Persia was a great power. Chaldea. The poor, the little Jewish people, they were originally shepherds. They were stuck, they're still stuck between these great powers.
That's not a reflection of your intellectual capacity, is it? Whether
right.
Or not you're a shepherd.
Well...
Oh my God, this guy, seriously, just keep digging that hole. Keep picking those oopsie daisies for me.
No, it's not, but it's a recognition, it is a reflection of your intellectual development.
I can't believe that. What? It's a reflection of your intellectual development? What are you talking about, bro? I can't believe that Richard Dawkins isn't sitting over there like laughing his ass off right now. This is absurd. Laughing, oh Miki, you're such a love. Funds for the feline overlords, hail Bast, and keep up the great work, Owen. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, Miki is a good kitty. Kashmir is an okay kitty sometimes. I just don't know why he's such a shithead on other occasions. I don't know what makes him like this. How, like, why does he do this? Anyway.
But like many, many people are very, very clever.
I'm sorry, let me step back here. Listen again.
Well...
I'm going to listen to Pell pick those oopsie daisies one more time here.
No, it's not, but it's a recognition, it is a reflection of your intellectual development. But like many, many people are very, very clever and not highly intellectual. But my point...
Oh my God, dude. This guy is... He should not be a representative of the Catholic Church at all. I can't... Who let this guy on stage?
So can I just interrupt? Are you including Jesus in that, who obviously was Jewish and
that's awesome.
Was of that community?
Exactly.
So intellectually not up to it?
Oh.
Wow, this dude just dug himself a hole and keeps digging.
Well, that's a nice try, Tony. The people, in terms of sophistication, the Psalms are remarkable. In terms of their...
Oh, suddenly the Jews are intelligent. How about that? This is how bigotry forms. In all seriousness, he's just... I don't think there's any ill intent. He's just a dummy, you know? He's just, like, not using his head for a single second. And he sees the fact that Jews of that time and place had less technology than Egyptians did, and assumes that that's because they're idiots, they're less intelligent, their IQs are lower, rather than the actual explanation, which is they were probably more focused on, I don't know, agriculture and domestication and stuff, rather than technology development. There are all kinds of different, there are different areas of technological advancement, and the Jews were focused on one thing rather than the other. Egyptians didn't have the wheel back when the pyramids were being built. The wheel did not exist. But does that mean they're dummies? They're idiots? No. It's just like different levels of technological advancement. They were all the same. They were all equal to each other. We're all human. There's a single race, the human race. And we all evolved roughly around 100 to 200,000 years ago, about the same time. I mean, we were all just one single race that evolved together.
Buildings and that sort of thing, they don't compare with the great powers.
Right. So they didn't have big buildings, and that means that they were idiots, or they were just not as intelligent as anybody else. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. 100% there. Good job. I don't know who put him on the panel here, but we need more George Pells in debates.
But Jesus came not as a philosopher to the elite. He came to the poor and the battlers. And for some reason, he chose a very difficult, but actually they are now an intellectually elite, because over the centuries...
No, they're not. They're not intellectually elite. Jews are the equals of everybody, okay? There is no elite intellectual class or whatever. There is a range of intelligence in the human race. Some are more intelligent, some are less. It's not based on your ethnicity. Jesus Christ, dude.
Because they've been pushed out of every other form of work. Jesus, I think, is the greatest, the Son of God, but leaving that aside, the greatest man that ever lived. So I've got a great admiration for the Jews, but we don't need to exaggerate their contribution in their early days.
Oh my God, this guy's just digging that hole. Just keep digging the hole, man.
All right, you're watching Q&A. Remember, you can send your web...
Why is he giving him an out? No, I want to hear him dig the hole deeper, please.
or video questions to our website. The address is on the screen to find out how to do that. Our next question is a video. It comes from Andrew Watson in Blackburn, Victoria.
Question for Richard Dawkins. The Big Bangers believe that once there was nothing, then suddenly, poof, the universe was created from a Big Bang.
Okay, that's not really exactly right, but whatever.
If I have nothing in the palm of my hand, close my fingers, speak the word bang, then open my fingers again, still I find there is nothing there. I ask you to explain to us in layman's terms how it is that something as enormous as the universes came from nothing.
Okay, nothing in physics has very different meaning than the colloquial term nothing. So this type of thing is really hard to understand, let alone explain, without a physics background, which, by the way, I don't have. I have tried to understand some of this stuff to the best of my ability, but seriously, I have a GED, okay? I didn't even graduate high school. I feel like I'm probably a rank above most people who didn't graduate high school, but I don't have a physics degree. I don't have any advanced math degrees. Most advanced math I took was trigonometry. Yeah, I think it was just trigonometry. I didn't take calculus, didn't take linear algebra, just muddled my way through. And it's really, really hard to understand this stuff. Whoever this guy is, I just about guarantee, has not done the research necessary to understand what he is even asking.
Richard Dawkins.
Why are people clapping for this?
Well, obviously, you're not a physicist, and nor...
Right, exactly. He's not a physicist. He doesn't understand even the question fully.
And nor am I, and...
A respectable answer. You're not a physicist. I'm not a physicist. We don't understand the question or the answers. We are the wrong people to have the discussion. But he's acting like he's got one over on, you know, atheists or something.
And, I am delighted to say that during my time in Australia, I shall be having a number of conversations, public conversations, with my colleague Lawrence Krauss.
Another guy that is not fantastic. Yeah, I haven't really, like, looked into what Lawrence Krauss did or whatever, but I'm just, yeah, it's better to, like, I'm just going to not associate with any of them.
Including one in the Sydney Opera House later, I think it's next week. And he's written a book on exactly that topic of how you can get something from nothing, and I shall be questioning him about that. Of course.
For what it's worth, Lawrence Krauss, though he has some very questionable things in his past that he's done, there have been some scandals and stuff, and yeah, I'm just not really a fan of him at all. He is an extremely intelligent physicist and knows what he's talking about. That being said, his description of what he thinks happened in the early moments of the Big Bang are very controversial. He claims that the universe came from actually nothing, not basic laws of particles, not nothing. And again, that's super controversial in the sphere, as far as I understand. Frankenstein says, if math was easy, it would be your mom. 100% agree. Absolutely. Thanks for the message there. Andrea of Pennsylvania. I trained my cat to not scratch furniture. I gave him a squirt every time he scratched the furniture. I also gave him a treat for scratching the post. Oh, Kashmir knows. He knows he's not supposed to do that. Because when I stand up and he's not scratching anything, he just kind of like looks over at me and then looks away and continues on with his business. When he's scratching something other than the scratching post and I stand up, he bolts. He knows.
Of course it's counterintuitive that you can get something from nothing. Of course common sense doesn't allow you to get something from nothing. That's why it's interesting. It's got to be interesting in order to give rise to the universe at all. Something pretty mysterious had to give rise to the origin of the universe. Now, if you want to replace a physical explanation by an intelligent God, that's an even worse explanation. It's an even more difficult explanation. What scientists are trying to do is to explain how you can get not just something, but the immense complexity of the world, of the universe, and of life. And science is making a pretty good fist of doing that. Life is now completely solved, barring the details. That was Darwin's contribution and Darwin's successors.
Right. We understand how life came to be largely, or how it evolved through time. That was his contribution. Agreed.
Physicists are still working on the origin of the cosmos. Among them is Lawrence Krauss, whom I shall be talking to next week. Now, It is very mysterious how the universe came into being. It's a deeply mysterious and interesting question.
And can I just interrupt? It's an old question, a very old question. Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century was asking this same question. He said there must have been a time when no physical things existed, but something can't come from nothing. That was his view. It's just been repeated by us.
Something can come from nothing, and that's what...
Thomas Aquinas had no idea what he was talking about because he existed like so many centuries ago. And he was also a religious philosopher, not a scientist.
What physicists are now telling us. I could give you, you asked me to give you a layman's interpretation. It would be a very, very layman's interpretation. When you have matter and antimatter and you put them together, they cancel each other out and give rise to nothing. What Lawrence Krauss is now suggesting is that if you...
Again, it's kind of controversial.
Start with nothing, the process can go into reverse and produce matter and antimatter. The theory is still being worked out. It's a very difficult theory, mathematical theory. I'm not qualified to answer the question, but what I am sure about is that it most certainly is not solved by postulating an intelligence, a creative intelligence, who raises even bigger questions of his own existence. That certainly is not going to be the answer, whatever else is.
George Pell.
Right, exactly. I mean, like I said before, there he is. Quit it, bad kitty. He's doing it again. He's scratching the couch this time. I'm going to stand up and shoo him off the couch if he scratches again. Anyways, it's the whole God of the gaps thing all over again is the point. God, you can fill those gaps, those empty spaces with God all you want, but science will eventually, almost certainly, come up with an explanation. Feel free to fill in those, those gaps with God, but it's not going to last forever. So, ultimately, if you want to believe in God, believe in God. It's faith-based. It's not science-based. There's no scientific reason to believe any of it. And that's fine. There doesn't need to be. You want to believe it, go ahead. Just don't argue with me when I'm giving you scientific explanations for various different things. And claim that, no, God did it. That is a losing battle for you. I'm sorry. For the feline overlords, thank you for spending the Thank you for spending the information and showing how people can look dumb. Oh yeah, of course. I love watching this stuff. I was actually going to watch this debate on my own again. I watched it years ago. And then I got to thinking, you know what? This could be entertaining to watch with an audience, so we might as well. I'm actually going to call it here. If you guys want to see more of it, I do this exact thing, play a game and watch a debate or something Wednesday and Thursday mornings, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time on my Owen Unfiltered YouTube channel. So just pop over there. If you missed it, you're watching this after I streamed this video here. I do streams every week. But if you want to see the rest of this, I upload edited versions, cut down and remove the ums and uhs and stuff. I upload those to my Unfiltered channel, so just head on over there and take a look. Anyways, all right. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. It's been fun, and I will talk to you guys hopefully tomorrow. If not, I will see you next week, okay? All right, have a good one, everybody.